Hey guys, so I'm back to do my very first wrap-up video. I've been thinking about doing this for a while, and frankly, we'll see how well this goes, because I feel like I'm terrible at trying to describe things. Not so bad with books, but with manga I feel like I'm terrible at trying to describe manga, especially when I can't pronounce half the characters' names, so yeah. So I decided that starting in March I was going to do wrap-ups for everything that I read for the month. I might break these into middle month and the other month because this stack is freaking huge and I have no clue how long this video is going to take because it's huge. And my throat does not want to calm down. So, yeah, we're just going to try and go in some kind of chronological order. It kind of blurs at the end, but we will start with the first book that I actually read, which was Dangerous Alliance. I ended up reading this with Shae. Quite a few of these were read with Shae. Goodness gracious, throat. We are like permanent buddy reading buddies, so we read a lot of books together. This was me. So I'm sure you guys have figured this out. I'm not good with contemporary, I'm not good with romance, and this is kind of both. So this is basically about Vicky, who lives with her parents and her family's estate. Her sister's happily married, and like the future's kind of all secure for the family. But then basically that kind of turns itself on their head. So basically Vicky's sister comes back home one night and she basically wants to leave the husband, and because of that now it's become this thing where Vicky has to try and figure out who she wants to marry, because someone in that house has to marry because they only have 2 daughters, and heaven forbid like a daughter just take it over. Nope, the daughter's gotta have like a husband and stuff like that, because this is back in the time, which is also probably why I didn't like it quite as much. But yeah, so it's basically her exploits of trying to figure out like who she wants to end up marrying. It was fine, it didn't do anything wrong, it was boring. I was bored. I'm just not good with contemporary and it just bored me. So we have that. Next off, I'm gonna go into some of the manga that I randomly read like at the beginning of the month. I read the 13th volume of The Royal Tutor. This one's super cute. It's all about this guy who's the tutor. He has basically come into the royal family and is trying to tutor the 4 younger sons of the king to figure out who will ultimately take the throne. It's super funny. Like, these boys all have very good personalities and interesting traits, and it's really just a fun read. If you want something that is kind of lighthearted and funny, this is like a good one to have. This one is, I think, continuing the arc. Yeah, this is the continuation of the last arc with, which brother is this? Which brother are you? Leek? I don't know. The one who ends up working at the cafe. It's a continuation of his current story arc with the cafe. Basically all the brothers are trying to figure out like their lots in life essentially, and one of the brothers had decided that he wanted to kind of live with the common society and work at a cafe because he wants to like figure out what it's like to just be a normal person. So this is the continuation for that arc, and I'm very much enjoying it. The next one is the 12th volume of Ancient Magus Bride. This continues the school arc. Oh yeah, they're in the woods. So, yeah, it continues the school arc. I don't want to say too much about this one, but basically, Elias and Josiah are, like, Elias buys her and then makes her his apprentice and wife, for lack of a better word, I guess. Their relationship's kind of a little interesting. It's like a very innocent one because he doesn't know what it's like to have a family. She doesn't know what it's like to have a family, so their whole concept of family is very skewed. So this kind of talks about that, which is nice and refreshing to have them kind of figure this out. So there is that one. Next one is the 22nd volume of Yona of the Dawn. I love Yona. So, Princess Yona is basically happy little life until the freaking cousin? Is that a cousin? Yeah, kind of kills dad, and they are on the run with the 4 dragons, which is freaking adorable. Look at the 4 dragons. They're so cute. This one... I think we've got a new story arc. I don't want to get too into it. It's very thorough, but it's like a really good shoujo. I mean, if you want a shoujo that doesn't treat itself like a shoujo, this is a good one. Because it's not very fluffy, it's not very romance, it's not like teenage drama. I mean, it's very political. I mean, they're like, you know, trying to take back the kingdom. So it's a really good one to read if you don't want anything like uber fluff. Or uber, like, you know, teenage drama, like, oh, I like this boy and he's so cute and he's not looking at me and all that stuff. No, this is not, Yona doesn't do that. But one that does that is the 9th volume of Our Ride. Yeah, it just continues on in the story. This is just, you know, basically a girl that likes a boy. The boy likes her but doesn't want to admit it because he's kind of with someone else. You know, it's a shoujo. It's one of the ones that I wouldn't take too seriously, but it's a fun ride. The next one is actually... Okay, where are you guys? Is this all it? Yeah, this is all it. Okay. So, the next deck is this deck. Okay. This stack is everything. Oh gosh, heavy stack that I read for the Animal Crossing readathon. I already have a wrap-up for the Animal Crossing readathon. I will put the link down below for that wrap-up. I'm not going to go through each of them again, so please just watch that wrap-up if you're interested in talking about what I read for that readathon. Okay. Now the rest of them. Oh, goodness. Okay. The only graphic novel that I read, and I am trying to read like one graphic novel a month, and this one is just a cute little one that I got. So this is the only graphic novel that I read, and it's Princess Ever After. It's basically 2 girls, 2 princesses, and like their adventures together. The heroic princess rescues the one from her tower imprisonment, and then they become friends, and then they have adventures around the kingdom, and they're super cute. So it's just a little fluffy thing. It's super short, obviously. But yeah, it was a fun little cute read. So that is one that I read. I don't think any of these have Method to the Madness. Should I try and put them in order, kids? Whatever. I'm not gonna put them in order. Okay. So next off, Emma and the Night. This is a book about 15-year-old Cass and 17-year-old Emma, and they disappeared one night. The family car is found in a deserted beach, but they have no clue what has happened to these girls. 3 years later, Cass returns home and is talking about a tale of being kidnapped and isolated, and Emma and her being, you know, like stranded together with some family, two adults who have like kidnapped them and are like have them on some island. But her story has holes, and there's a forensic psychologist, Abby Winter, and she and her partner are trying to basically figure out like what actually happened. This is really psychological. So if you like a good psychological one, this is definitely a good one for that. I've kind of discovered from reading so many books that I'm really, really interested in books that kind of go on about, are you going to stay up for me? You are. No, you're not. Close enough. No. Oh, you were doing so well. Fine. I'm really, really enjoying books that kind of have this psychological twist to it, kind of like the, okay, this has happened, but now we're trying to figure out what happened by, like, you know, a psychologist or a, you know, reporter, or, well, I really like the psychologist because I'm a got a major in psychology, so the psychology aspect of it is really interesting to me. But yes, so I'm really enjoying books that kind of like try and figure out like what happened after the fact. So this is one of those books. So you flip it from Cass's perspective and Abby's perspective, back and forth, where like Cass is trying to like basically be like, okay, I'm trying to get these people to like figure out what I want them to figure out, and they're kind of figuring it out, but they're not exactly figuring it out, because at the end of the day, Cass has got an ulterior motive, which you can kind of figure out from the fact that Cass's story has holes in it. Yes, because she has an ulterior motive. It's a very interesting read. It's very dark. If you don't like psychological abuse, I would not read this one, because it's very heavy on the psychological abuse. It's very heavy on, it goes really deep into narcissism, which I really thought was a fascinating part of it, because I haven't read a book that really focused on that. But I really liked it. It did not end the way that I thought it was going to end, so I will say the twist at the end was a very good twist. So if you want a psychological thriller, I'm guessing this would be considered a thriller. This is a really good one. I very much enjoyed it. So that was almost my favorite read. It got really close. Like, it was like, there were a few things that were kind of like, you had to kind of, you know, like, just kind of had to wonder in the middle of it. So it didn't, like, get my highest rating for a book I read this month, but the one that I did read this month that got my highest rating was actually Rules for Vanishing. This was really good. This was like a 5-star read for me. So this is, once a year, a road appears in the forest, and at the end of it, the ghost of Lucy Gallows beckons. Lucy's game isn't for the faint of heart. If you win, you escape with your life, but if you lose... And it's basically, Sarah's sister vanished 1 year ago. Her name was Becca. And they say that she went to find the ghost and she's trapped on the road. So then, exactly 1 year later, the road opens back up, and Sarah and her group of friends all go into the forest to try and save Becca. This is twisted, this is dark, this is psychological as well. This has got like paranormal type elements to it. It's so good. I really enjoyed this. This is also another one of them, just like with Emma in the Dark, where, you know, basically it's going back and forth as well between like Becca and them being in the forest, and after they return from the forest, and kind of like the ramifications of what happens when they get out. And they're basically dealing with like once again, like two psychologists who are trying to like figure out by using like recordings off of cell phones and notes and things like that that were like done during what happened in the forest to figure out what actually happened, because what you think happened like really twisted itself on its head, and everything that you thought was going on and everything that Becca thought was going on, she wasn't remembering correctly, and the notes were like helping her remember like what actually happened in the forest. So this was such a good read. This like might be one of my favorite reads of like the year. We shall see. So, but I really much enjoyed that one. It gets kind of dark, so if you have some issues with like the dark thing aspects of it, it gets kind of like them in the forest with like the creatures that are in the forest and everything else are kind of dark, so it does go there. But it wasn't like so dark that it got too much, if that means anything. Granted, I'm fine with dark, but this was like my favorite read. Okay, let's go into some manga. So I did read the series Delinquent Housewives. So I did read the whole thing. So there is 1, 2, Oops, you are so out of order. 3 and 4. So this is basically about the main character is a bride-to-be, so she moves into her soon-to-be husband's house with his family, and then he ends up having to leave and go on like a work trip. So she's basically living at home with them, and the whole thing is that meanwhile, you know, she looks pretty, she looks put together, she looks like the ideal housewife. She's not. She's got like, she used to be part of a biker gang. She doesn't know how to cook, she doesn't know how to clean, she doesn't know how to do anything. He just fell in love with her because of her personality, but she doesn't want to like show that to this family. So it's this whole like trying to learn how to be a housewife for the family. Well, trying to do housewife duties for the family. It was fine. It was fine when I read it. As I got more into it, there were some things that were bothering me. One, the younger daughter obviously couldn't stand her because once again, we've always got to have that freaking like brother complex in freaking Japan where like the younger sisters are like infatuated with their brothers and want to like secretly like sleep with their brothers, which is just like So of course she's like, oh, well, you know, I don't like you because you're taking him away from me. And it's like, oh my god, I hate children. So we've got that situation. She's trying to trip her up at every step to try and prove that what's going on. And then we've got the younger brother who has a crush on her, so that's a thing. It's not like it ends fine. It doesn't end weird. You know, it ends fine. So don't have to worry about her like ending up with the younger brother. I promise that does not happen, but I was slightly concerned because that's where it kept trying to go. And I don't even know, like, I think he's like, I don't know what age he is, 17, I don't know, 16, 17, the brother. So, I mean, it was fine. Do I think I would read it again? I don't know if I would. I might see, Shae had mentioned wanting to read this one, so I might see if she wants me to send it along her way so she can read it too. Because I just don't think I'm really going to reread it, so I don't think there's any point in me keeping it. But it was fine. I mean, it was a fun read while I read it. Okay. Next off, we have got the only thing that I DNF'd in the stack, so I just figured I would quickly go over it. So, Grimoire of Fantasy and Ash. This is a light novel. I picked this from my TBR jar, the master TBR jar for this month, Lindsay. And I got about 50 pages into it, and I wasn't having it. It's basically about, like, a group, it's an isekai, so it's like a group of kids that end up, like, in some strange land with amnesia. They only know their names, and it's like a fantasy world RPG situation. And for one, there were way too many characters at the beginning. I couldn't figure out who was who. One of the girls, like, the main, like, the creature that, like, helps them out when they first get there is, like, kind of obnoxious, and her trying to, like, speak was, like, grating on my freaking nerves. So, I'm trying to figure out... Where is she? I don't know, but she, like, speaks really weird. The very first 50 pages has a homophobic slur, because that's a thing that happened in it. And I was just not feeling it, so I just said, nope, we're not gonna waste my time reading it, so I DNF'd that. Okay, let's go through some of the manga now. Okay, one of the last things that I read, and I read this the last day, was Shortcake Cake. This is a cute little shoujo. It's about 10 who ends up moving into a boarding house. I really like boarding house situations, what can I say, and these things. Moves into a boarding house, and there's two guys that kind of both like her, and it's basically her acknowledging that she likes the, obviously, who she confesses to, but she originally confesses that she likes one of the boys finally, and then they start like dating, and that's it. Of course, I'm over the 20 minutes, so it started back up again. Oops, so well. Yeah, this is going to be a long one. The next one that I read was Phantom Tales of the Night, the 3rd volume. This is really cool. This is basically a like yokai type situation, so it's this guy who owns this inn, and basically you can stay at the inn, but you have to trade like your deepest, darkest secret in order to like get whatever you need from him. And it basically just continues on with that one. And we actually get into Spider's past, which is one of the two other people that help him take care of the inn. So there's that. It's really cool. It's very Clamp-esque. It's dark. It's not too dark, but it's very dark. It's very Clamp. And if you like Clamp, I think you'd really like that one. Okay. I then also read To Your Eternity, Volume 11. I feel like this one's got to be getting close to the end. So it's basically the continuation of the battle. I feel like they've been doing this like final battle for like ever. But they're basically Fushi, who's like the main character, and all the other people that are like part of his group are like holed up in like a castle, a town, an area, and they're basically fighting back the bad guys. And this is them continuing to fight back the bad guys and continue on in the storyline in that regards. I kind of hope this like battle ends soon, because I'm kind of a little bored with this final battle thing. I'm not even sure if it's the final battle, but it feels like the final battle, but I'm kind of bored with it. So I hope it ends. The next one is Witch Hat Altair, Volume 5. This continues on in their trial that was continuing on in the last one. It's just super cute. So it's about a girl, Coco, who has figured out that magic is in this land is something that can actually be like learned versus something you're born with, because they've always said that magic is something that you're born with, and she has actually figured out that you can learn magic. So she learns magic, ultimately messes up her spell the first time and accidentally puts her mom into like a stone state. And then, so in order for her to not be like basically if she gets caught that she's learned magic, they'll wipe her memories, and then she'll just never have her mother, and her memories will be wiped, and that's the end of it. So she ends up going in with another group of witches, younger witches, that are being taught how to be like better witches, and she's learning how to be a witch so that ultimately she can help her mother come back. So there is that one. I'll do the last manga. So I did catch up with what I own of Haru. So I have 7, 8, and 9. Cool. This is super adorable. Like, I'm gonna order 10 and 11 because I need to catch up, because it's so freaking cute. So it's about this girl. Well, actually, the one thing that's cool about this one is the fact that it actually goes from the boy's perspective, not the girl's perspective, which is nice, because usually shoujo always focuses on the girl side of things. So this guy is like a player guy, and he just kind of, like, you know, like, is falling all over the girls, and the girls all like him, but he just doesn't, like, have anything to really do with them, and then ultimately he upsets one of the girls. So then this girl gets upset because it's her friend, and he punches him. And then all of a sudden he's infatuated with her now. So it's like the story of like them getting together, and then obviously some of the other characters that are in their little clique group of friends are working on getting together too, and it's kind of like their storylines continued, and it's just super cute and super fluffy, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I think it's short. I think Shae said it ends in like, I don't know, 12 or 13, so it's going to be ending soon, but it's really cute. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So, the other 2 books that I read, so I've only got 2 more books, so stay with me, guys, is Scarlet, which is the 2nd book in the Lunar Chronicles series. I read this with April and Shae. They have a Tell It Again book club every month, which I've been taking a part of for like a year now? Over a year? I basically started doing this book club like the 2nd month they started doing it. So I still haven't technically read the first book that they read, but very first book, but I've read everything else. So this is the 2nd book in the Lunar Chronicles. This basically goes through a 2nd character, which is Scarlet. Scarlet is trying to find her grandmother who went missing. She then also runs into a character, Wolf, who is now a street fighter, and he may have some information potentially about the grandmother. And they end up, their futures entwine, and then they end up in the story with Cinder. So this is kind of really cool. I'm really enjoying reading it with Shae and April. It's a lot of fun. They've both read this before and I haven't, so it's fun to read this with people that kind of know what happens, because you're just like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen? I love this character, and they're like, and you're like, so yeah, it's fun, and I'm enjoying it, so I'm looking forward to Cress, which is the next book in the series. And then last but not least, I didn't really end on a good note. I probably should have ended on a better note, but it's fine. The last book that I read was The Haunting of Ashburn House. I was super excited for this one, because, so, basically, there is this house, the Ashburn house, and everyone, like, whispers that, like, there's ghosts in it, and it's, like, a haunted house, and everything else. And then, however, Adrian inherits this house. So now she's like, oh, well, you know, I need a place to live. Like, I'm in a bad situation. I have no place to live. This is my only place to live for free, because it's mine. And then darkness happens and shit goes down, and yeah. So I really wanted to like this because I love haunted house books. You guys know I love haunted house books. Like, that's one of my favorite like tropes in books, is the psychological aspect of trying to figure out what happened after the fact. And haunted things. Haunted houses, haunted hotels, haunted whatevers, haunted places, haunted things. Things with ghosts. So I was really looking forward to this because I love haunted things. And at first, this book was fine. It had the haunted vibes, you know, the place was creaking, there was, like, you know, she'd see, like, things in the back of her eyes, like, it was cool. It was a little weird because I kind of realized that she's the only one in the house besides her cat, which, cat yay. But I kind of like these books better when there's more than one perspective in, like, the haunted place. I think I've noticed that, because, like, this kind of got a little boring because it was just her in the haunted house. Like, she had, like, some of the neighbor people, like, visit her because she was trying to make friends. But most of it was just, like, her in the haunted house. And so it did, let me see, where do I want to, here we go. This is what we're going to do. Okay. So I really don't want to spoil things, but I feel like I have to point this out. So, say hello to Pincer, guys. If Pincer's in the screen, well, not right now. If Pincer's there, spoilers. Don't listen if you don't want to be spoiled for this specific book. So here you go. I hate zombies, guys. I hate zombies. So this, like, turned into a freaking zombie book because it was like, oh, hey. So, yeah, apparently, like, her aunt who owned this place, like, died, but then, like, there's this whole story about how, like, the family had, like, died in the house, and, like, the family was all killed, but apparently it was, like, her aunt's, like, twin sister who had killed everybody, but then she, like, fucking became a zombie, oh, excuse my French, and, like, zombies. I hate zombies, so she, like, there's, like, this whole thing where, like, every Friday, if she lights a candle in the attic, it, like, quells the evil spirits that are gonna bring this zombie girl back to life. So, like, she doesn't do it because she's like, I don't know what this shit is. And then, like, So, like, she dug herself out of the grave and is, like, going after this girl as a freaking zombie, and I hate zombies. Zombies, I hate zombies. So that's why I didn't like this book, because freaking zombies. Okay, we're done. Okay, guys, welcome back if you ran away for spoilers. But yeah, it was just not my favorite book. I'm definitely not going to keep this one. It will probably get donated to whoever. But, yes, that is that book. Okay, and this is everything that I read for the month of March. I talked for like 30 freaking minutes, Lindsay. You really need to break these down. So yes, next time I'm going to try and break them out. The funny thing is, there was like a whole month and a half in there that I didn't even talk to you about because it was part of a readathon that already has a wrap-up, and I still talk for 30 minutes. You talk too much, Lindsay. You talk too much. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my first ever wrap-up. I will continue these, but I will probably break them up for a month so that it's not quite insane. Although April, I have got a readathon, so we'll see how I handle that, because the Manga Madness readathon is in April. So we'll be trying to binge as much manga as possible during that. So there will be a wrap-up just probably for that. There's no TBR because I'm just going to read whatever. I'm not going to, I don't think I have a method to this madness. I just want to read as much as I can. So there's that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my wrap-up for March. I will see you guys later for the next video. Everyone have a very good rest of the day. Bye!